Hello everyone, I Akhilesh Kumar Tiwari welcome you all to the Swayam online course on basic principles of energy management and energy audit. In the previous lecture which you have already visited, you have got the basic overview of the complete course. So, overall you all have got the information about the weekly progress of the course. Now, in today's lecture, we are going to learn about various types of energy like primary and secondary, commercial and non-commercial energy, and renewable and non-renewable energy. So, basically in this whole lecture we are going to discuss about different types of energy. For better understanding of these energy, we will also discuss the examples related to these energy. Means we will discuss all the examples related to these energy which are around us, and after that we will go through the present scenario of energy worldwide and also in India, which will include the information related to coal, oil and natural gas. Also, we will discuss the formation, constituents and the countries with major reserves and consumption of coal, oil and natural gas. So, in total we will discuss for these energy sources having the consumption and the reserves all over the world. So, if we talk about energy, energy is one of the primary factors that contribute to the growth and development of any nation's economy. When it comes to emerging nations, the energy sector takes on an extremely important role because of the ever increasing need for energy, which necessitates enormous financial investments to satisfy. The amount of energy that is being consumed is rising at a rapid rate, while the resources that are accessible are decreasing. The amount of energy that is required on a global scale is growing at a rate of roughly 2.4% every year on average. More than 85% of the primary energy that is available comes from the burning of fossil fuels. The current level of consumption of fossil fuels, most notably oil, cannot be maintained for an extended period of time. The consumption of energy has a huge influence on the natural environment that we live in. There is abundant evidence to suggest that human activity, much of which is associated with the consumption of energy, is the root cause of climate change. So, energy can be classified based on certain criteria, and they are as follows: primary and secondary energy, commercial and non-commercial energy, renewable and non-renewable energy. Now, we will discuss individually about each type of energy. So, first of all we will see primary energy. So, the primary energy refers to the energy found in nature that has not been subjected to any human engineered conversion process. It encompasses energy contained in raw fuels and other forms of energy, including waste received as input to a system. Primary energy can be non-renewable or renewable. So, if we take the example of renewable energy, it consists of solar, wind, geothermal, tidal biomass and hydel. And if we talk about non-renewable resources, they are fossil fuels. Mainly the fossil fuels are crude oil and its products, coal, natural gas, nuclear, etc. Now, if we talk about primary energy sources such as coal, oil or gas are typically turned into secondary energy sources in industrial utilities. For instance, coal, oil or gas can be converted into steam and electricity. Direct usage of primary energy is another viable option. Some forms of energy have applications outside of the energy sector as well. For instance, coal and natural gas can both be used as feedstock in fertilizer plants. During the process of energy conversion, primary energy is converted into other more useful types of energy such as electricity and steam. These kinds of energy are referred to as secondary forms. Now, next we will come on commercial energy. Now, commercial energy is defined as the form of power that may be purchased at a predetermined cost on the open market. Any kind of energy that is put to commercial use qualifies as commercial energy, regardless of whether it is generated by burning fossil fuels, by nuclear fission or by renewable resources. The commercial energy encompasses all of these different kinds of energy. Electricity, coal, refined petroleum products and natural gas are the most important forms of commercially available energy, although electricity is by far the most essential part. The modern world's industrial, agricultural, transportation and commercial development are all dependent on the availability of commercial energy sources. Not only are commercial fuels the most common sources of energy for industrial use in industrialized countries, but they are also the most common source of energy for many home requirements. Examples are there: electricity, coal, oil, natural gas, etc. Now, the term non-commercial energy refers to any form of energy that is produced locally, if we can say inside a community and its immediate surroundings, but is not often exchanged on commercial markets. Non-commercial energy can come from a variety of sources. So, if we talk about the fuels like firewood, cattle dung and agricultural wastes are examples of non-commercial energy sources. These fuels are traditionally harvested and used most frequently in rural families. Firewood is one of the example. These are also sometimes referred to as conventional fuels. When collecting the energy statistics of a nation, it is common practice to disregard any energy that is not used for commercial purposes. Examples include the use of firewood and agricultural waste in rural regions, solar energy for heating water and generating electricity, animal power for transportation, threshing, raising water for irrigation and crushing sugarcane, and wind energy for lifting water and generating electricity. Now we will have a look upon the renewable energy sources. So, the term renewable energy refers to power that comes from natural resources that are not expected to run out any time soon. The examples of renewable energy are wind power, solar power, geothermal energy, tidal power and hydroelectric power are some of the examples. It is also clearly shown in the figure, the examples of renewable energy sources. So, the ability to harvest renewable energy sources in a manner that does not result in the emission of potentially hazardous byproducts is arguably the most significant benefit of using such sources. Now, the non-renewable part. So, a natural resource is considered to be non-renewable if it is not possible to generate more of it, grow more of it, replenish it or use it at a scale that is sufficient to keep up with its current level of usage. These resources typically exist in a predetermined quantity or their use exceeds the rate at which they may be replenished by nature. And it takes millions of years for natural resources such as coal, oil and natural gas to originate, and they cannot be renewed at the same rate that they are being consumed right now. These supplies will run out throughout the course of time. So, if we talk about the coals, there are certain categories: peat, brown coal which is also called as lignite, bituminous coal and anthracite are the various types of coal that is found in nature. So, if we talk about the coals, coal is the most abundant and widely spread fossil fuel. It has been estimated that there are approximately 892 billion tons of known coal reserves located all over the world. The coal deposits that have been shown to exist are displayed in the figure. So, if we talk about anthracite and bituminous, including brown coal as well as subbituminous and lignite. According to a statistical review, there is sufficient coal reserve to last for approximately 113 years at the current pace of production. And there is a ratio which is called as R by P, and this R by P stands for reserves to production ratio. Now, what is this ratio and what is the significance of this ratio? Basically, this ratio calculates how long the reserves that were still available at the end of the year would survive if production were to remain at the same level in the next year. So, basically this R by P ratio describes or determines the available resources in your area if you are producing or using the extracting your coal or extracting your minerals at the current rate. So, basically this is determined by dividing the reserves that were still available at the end of year by the production in that year. So, basically it shows the production to availability ratio, that is the reserve by production ratio. Now, there are viable coal deposits in around 75 countries across the world, while there are coal reserves in practically every country on the planet. Now, if we talk about the greatest coal reserves, it is in the United States of America, and United States of America is followed by Russia, then we have China, after that we have Australia, and then we have India. So, even though it has an unfavorable image, means the coal is the main reason of the environmental pollution. If we talk about environmental impacts, the climate change, then also coal continues to play an important role in the energy supply of many countries. Means without coal, the energy supply for any of the countries can't be imagined. Although nations in Europe and to a lesser extent North America are making efforts to transition their energy consumption toward alternate sources of energy and decrease or compensate by the huge growing economies. Particularly if we talk about Asia, which is mainly powered by coal and have significant coal reserves. So, in this case, despite of the fact that these nations are making efforts to shift their consumption, and only the China is currently consumes the same amount of coal as the rest of the world combined. Means if you talk about China, the China consumes the whole amount of coal as compared to the amount of coal used by or consumed by the whole world. So, China is consuming the highest amount of coal reserves. Now, we will come on fuels or oils. So, basically how oil is produced. So, if we talk about the production of oil, so in the ocean floor which is covered with the remains of dead marine organisms and plants that were once quite old. So, what happened? They were buried over the course of time by successive layers of sand and silt. So, basically what happens? The fossils of these plants and animals are buried inside the ocean layer by layer, and over the course of millions of years, these remains were buried at progressively greater depths. Means with time, the depth of these fossils were progressively remains changing or been increasing. And after so much of time, now these fossils or the remains were transformed into oil and gas as a result of extreme heat and pressure. So, this is basically the process of forming of oils, fossil fuels oils. So, now today in order to reach the geological formations that contains oil and gas resources, we have to drill down through these layers of sand, rocks and silt to reach at the bottom of ocean where this fossil fuel oil get remains. Now, if we talk about the conservation or the part of Middle East has an overall reserve to production ratio for conventional oil that is significantly higher than that of countries that are not in the Middle East. The average is roughly 78 years. Means if we talk about the reserve of oil, it is mainly in the Middle East countries like Saudi Arabia, Venezuela and all. Now, If now we will talk about the various forms of oils. So, first of all we will talk about oil shale. So, in general the term oil shale refers to any sedimentary rock that includes solid bituminous elements, which is also known as kerogen. And when the rock in question is heated as a part of the chemical process known as pyrolysis, then in that case the liquids are released which are similar to petroleum. Now, if we talk about the oil sands, so its primary contributors or the primary compositions are clay, sand, water and bitumen, which is a heavy black viscous oil form, and also these are also called as tar sands. So, it is possible to mine tar sands and then process them in order to recover the oil rich bitumen. This bitumen can then be refined into oil. Now, the component of the petroleum that is found in natural deposits and is either in the semi-solid or solid phase is known as natural bitumen. In its natural condition, it often consists of sulfur as well as other metals and other compounds that are not hydrocarbons. The part of heavy oil that has an American Petroleum Institute gravity of fewer than 10 degrees is referred to as extra heavy oil. According to a survey, Saudi Arabia has the biggest oil production capacity in the world, which is followed by the Russian Federation and the United States. The United States of America may be third in the world when it's come to oil production, but it is only 10th when it comes to confirmed oil reserves. Basically, the figure which is shown outlines the countries that contributes the most to the global oil supply in 2013. So, if we compare the leading oil producing countries at the end of 2013, India's portion, which is 42 million tons, accounts for 1% of the total, means the total consumption or the total production of India as compared to other countries is only 1% of the world. And if the production keeps up at the current rate, means if you are producing at the current rate at which we are producing, many of the main oil producing countries such as the United States, Russia and China would see a significant decline in their oil reserves within the next 10 years. Means it is totally related to R by P ratio, the reserve by production ratio. This time frame or this duration is calculated based on the R by P ratio. Now, we will talk about the natural gas. So, if we talk about natural gas, so methane is the majority part in the natural gas, but it also contains traces amounts of ethane, propane, butane and pentane. So, mainly the natural gas is a gaseous fossil fuel that is found underground. The natural gas must first go through a lengthy processing step that involves eliminating practically all of its elements with the exception of methane. Only then the natural gas can be utilized as a fuel. As we all know, methane has the burning property. So, methane remains in natural gas and it is the main constituent of natural gas. Now, the natural gas comes in third after crude oil and coal, but its usage has certainly increased over the years. Means as we are growing or we are coming towards the climate change or the problems we are rectifying in the climate change, the natural gas is one of the measure to reduce the pollution level. So, the natural gas has been making a fairly important contribution to the global energy basket. Now, as in the case with oil, the majority of the world's natural gas reserves are located in a relatively small number of countries and fields. And by the end of 2013, it was projected that the global proven gas resource amounted to approximately 186 trillion cubic meters, and this is equivalent to about 55 years worth of production at the current rate. The largest portion of the reserve is held by Iran, which is followed by Russia and then by Qatar. Only about 0.7% of the world's natural gas reserves are located in India. The figure which is shown provides an overview of the distribution of proven natural gas reserves around the world. And if we will consume this natural gas at the current R by P ratio, which is the reserve to production ratio, the natural gas reserve are estimated to last for 55 years. So, now in this class we have mainly discussed about the primary and secondary energy, commercial and non-commercial energy, and the renewable and non-renewable energy with their examples. Also, we have discussed the present scenario, worldwide reserves, consumption of resources like coal, oil and natural gas. In the coming lectures or in the next lecture, we will learn about the sector wise energy consumption in India, energy needs of growing economy. So, that is all for this lecture. Thank you for your patience learning, and we will meet in next lecture. Thank you. So